Another incident has occurred involving US President Donald Trump, which could have threatened his life. According to NBC News, the US Secret Service arrested a man for pointing a laser pointer at the helicopter that Trump was taking off in from the White House. On Saturday, September 20th, a Secret Service officer saw a shirtless man who was talking to himself and shouting loudly. Then he pointed a red laser beam at the officer's face as well as toward the presidential helicopter. According to the Secret Service, the man was aware that this was dangerous for the helicopter and everyone on board. The suspect's behavior posed a risk of flash blindness and disorientation for the pilot. It was also reported that the suspect said he apologizes to Donald Trump. Meanwhile, The Telegraph published an article stating that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin is preparing for a nuclear strike. The article notes that the head of the Kremlin keeps his finger on the nuclear button, so the risk of global war is increasing every day. This is evidenced in particular by recent Russian provocations against EU countries, aimed at testing NATO's response and reducing Europe's sensitivity to violations of its sovereignty. All of this is happening against the backdrop of the UN General Assembly. At the Assembly, representatives from Poland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom declared their readiness to respond to Russian threats to shoot down drones and fighter jets. Meanwhile, a curious incident took place in New York. There, French President Emmanuel Macron, who had arrived in the US for the UN General Assembly session, was detained. His motorcade was stopped by the police because the road had been blocked off for the passage of the American leader, Donald Trump. In the footage, you can see a patrol officer apologizing to the French leader. On the evening of September 22nd, things were tense in Moscow. The mayor of the Russian capital, Sergei Sobyanin, announced that air defense was repelling a drone attack on the city. Emergency services are working at the scenes of the incidents. Residents of Moscow and the Moscow region heard about 10 loud explosions. One of them was captured by surveillance cameras in Rutte, a suburb of Moscow. As a result of the explosion, 4 cars were damaged. Against the backdrop of the drone attack, Sheremetyevo Airport in Moscow was closed. The cover plan was put into effect there. 11 flights were delayed and 1 was cancelled. Footage has appeared online showing a plane flying extremely low over the rooftops of apartment buildings heading toward Vnukovo Airport in Moscow. According to the Telegram channel Shot, it is believed that the pilot was deliberately flying low because of drones in the sky. The footage captured an An-124 transport aircraft, which is designed for cargo transportation. On the evening of September 22nd, explosions also rocked the temporarily occupied Crimea. According to public sources, it was loud in Sevastopol. In particular, there were reports of an explosion in the area of the Belbek airfield. The occupation head of Sevastopol, Mikhail Razvozhayev, reported that Russian air defense allegedly destroyed 2 aerial targets over the sea and near Kacha. According to the Telegram channel Crimean Wind, the Kacha airfield was also under attack. In the morning, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported that 69 UAVs were allegedly destroyed overnight. Russian air defense operated over the territories of Belgorod, Bryansk, Kaluga, Kursk, Rostov, Ryazan, Samara, and Saratov regions, as well as in the Moscow region and over the territory of temporarily occupied Crimea. Unknown drones were spotted over 3 Scandinavian countries. On the evening of September 22nd, reports emerged about drones in the capitals of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. In particular, the largest airport in Copenhagen, Denmark, suspended operations after 2 to 4 large drones of unknown origin were seen over the city. At least 15 flights were redirected to other airports. Several hours later, the airport in the Norwegian capital, Oslo, was also closed after a UAV was detected nearby. It is known that an air raid alert was sounded in Norway due to drones over a military facility. In connection with this incident, Norwegian police detained 2 citizens of Singapore. According to media reports, unidentified drones were also spotted over the Swedish capital, Stockholm. This is not the first case of airspace violations in EU countries. Back on September 10th, about 20 Russian drones violated Polish airspace. And on September 19th, 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered Estonian airspace. Against this backdrop, Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski warned Russia against further provocations. During his speech at the UN Security Council meeting, he stated that Poland would shoot down any Russian objects or aircraft that violate Polish borders.
If another missile or object enters our airspace, whether intentionally or accidentally, if it is shot down and the debris falls on NATO territory, don't come here to complain. You have been warned.
Swedish Defense Minister Pål Jonson also stated that they are prepared to shoot down Russian fighter jets. According to him, the country will defend its airspace. In addition, according to The Telegraph, Estonia is ready to host British fighter jets capable of carrying nuclear weapons in light of the incident with Russian fighter jets.
In Moldova, 74 people have been detained on suspicion of undergoing training in Serbia to organize mass riots during the parliamentary elections on September 28, reports News. Law enforcement officials claim that the operation is orchestrated by Russian intelligence services and that the suspects are connected both to Moldovan political parties and to criminal groups. The head of the Anti-Organized Crime Prosecutor's Office stated that the investigation into the preparation of mass riots began back in July 2025. During this time, authorities managed to uncover the activities of a group of individuals who regularly traveled to Serbia to participate in training exercises aimed at destabilizing the situation in the country. Specifically in Serbia, they were trained in handling firearms and special equipment. For this, the participants received about €400. As a result of the searches, the detainees had weapons, ammunition, tents, camouflage clothing, passports, and other physical evidence seized from them. The BBC published an investigation into disinformation in Moldova ahead of the elections, funded by the Russian Federation for publishing propaganda in support of pro-Russian forces. And aimed at destabilizing the pro-Western ruling party, the Russian Federation paid money. Bloomberg agency learned about a Russian plan to interfere in the elections in Moldova. According to the agency, Russia developed a multi-level plan aimed at undermining the chances of President Maia Sandu's party winning the September 28 elections and returning Moldova to Moscow's orbit. Among the key tools are recruiting Moldovans abroad to vote at overseas polling stations, organizing provocative actions and mass protests, a large-scale disinformation campaign on social media, and pressure on officials through compromising materials. The goal of the campaign is to disrupt the enshrinement of Moldova's European integration course in the constitution and to steer the country toward Russia, the agency notes. Earlier, in the European Parliament, President Maia Sandu stated that in 2025 Moldova is facing hybrid aggression from the Russian Federation. Sandu noted that the upcoming elections will be the most significant in Moldova's entire history. NATO is ready to respond firmly to Russia in order to prevent provocations, stated NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Rutte noted that NATO pilots escorting Russian aircraft out of Estonian airspace did not detect any immediate threat. The NATO Secretary General also emphasized that it is too early to say whether the drone incident in Denmark is connected to the Russian invasion, as the Danes are currently assessing the situation. On September 22, due to a drone threat, the local airport in Copenhagen suspended operations. Earlier, Russians carried out a provocation in the skies over Estonia. 3 aircraft of the Russian Federation crossed the country's airspace and remained there for 12 minutes. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio commented on why the administration of American President Donald Trump has not yet imposed tough sanctions against Russia. Speaking on NBC News, he stated that this would interfere with Washington's role as a mediator between Ukraine and the Russian Federation.
As soon as we start imposing tough sanctions and other measures, our ability to act as a mediator in achieving peace will be weakened.
The U.S. Secretary of State also does not rule out that Washington may still have to impose tougher sanctions against Russia in the future. Rubio allowed for the possibility that the U.S. might at some point stop facilitating the resolution of the war in Ukraine. On September 23, the 80th UN General Assembly began in New York, with Ukraine at the center of the discussions. The meeting of the UN Security Council was attended by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, U.S. President Donald Trump, and a number of world leaders. Trump stated that in 7 months he had put an end to 7 endless wars and once again emphasized this point.
I thought that ending the war in Ukraine would be the easiest because I have excellent relations with Putin.
According to him, Russia looks bad in this war and the US is ready to impose serious tariffs against it if Moscow does not agree to end the war. After making such statements, Trump held a personal meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. There is a fuel collapse in the Russian Federation. Gasoline has disappeared from gas stations. For example, it's impossible to find a 95 on Sakhalin. The Regional Ministry of Energy confirmed the fuel shortage and stated that additional supplies will not arrive on Sakhalin before September 25th. A similar situation with gasoline is happening in the Voronezh region.
There is no 92-octane gasoline at all. I mean, I always fill up this 7 with 92 octane. Now I filled it up with 95. And even then, only 10 liters because there's a limit on the amount.
A shortage of diesel fuel has also begun. At several gas stations in Novosibirsk, it's been unavailable for a week already. Even on toll roads in the Russian Federation, at gas stations where there is fuel, there are huge lines.
Here's another gas station. I'm driving from St. Petersburg to Moscow. There are such long lines, so my advice to you is to fill up somewhere in the city.
There's also no gasoline at the moment in the occupied Crimea. Gas stations are empty in Yalta, Feodosia, and other settlements on the peninsula. The occupying Russian authorities in Crimea have admitted to a total fuel shortage on the peninsula. In Russia itself, in the Saratov region, there were solo pickets against the uncontrolled rise in gasoline prices, which is negatively affecting the economic situation of citizens and businesses. People are complaining about rising fuel prices in St. Petersburg, Kemerovo, and other cities of the Russian Federation, as well as in Karelia.
Regarding gasoline in Karelia, there's no 95, only 92 is available. And it costs 79 rubles for 2025. I wonder, when will gasoline finally stop getting more expensive, huh? What kind of prices are these?
In the Vladimir region, 92-octane gasoline has gone up by more than 10% and 95-octane by more than 13%. In Kamchatka, diesel fuel costs 185 rubles and 92-octane is 178 rubles. A cashier at a gas station in the Nizhny Novgorod region talked about a sharp jump in gasoline prices.
15 rubles at once. This happened over the course of about 4 shifts. Everyone is in shock.
According to Russian media, there are discussions in the Russian Federation about banning the export of gasoline and diesel fuel until the end of the year.